Just a quick note before we start this week's show. We are making a movie featuring one of our former guests of this very show. That is DJ Nicky Ciano. He was on episode 3, if you want to go back and listen. We would love for your help and support and encouragement as we make the movie. We want you on our team. Check out greenlit.com/LITM, which is short for Love is the Message, the name of the movie. And you can get all the information, and anything you can donate would be amazing. But even if you can just help us spread the word, we would be huge fans of your work. That's greenlit.com/LITM.
Consider yourselves officially enrolled in Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. The facilities are yours.
Hello, kiddies. I feel like I should pose it as a question. Are we going to have a good time today?
Well, I also, like, with that pause, I was like, am I supposed to respond with a hello? Like, we've never done that before.
Oh, yeah.
Is this new? Is this call and response now?
Maybe. This is the part of the show where I just hold the mic out to the audience and they sing the high parts for us.
Should we give it to Randy to sing the high parts? Because she's
Maybe
here.
we should. Yes, we should.
She's shaking her head.
She's shaking her head no, or shaking her head in the affinity.
You should hear me try to scream at my soccer team. My voice sounds like a 12-year-old boy going through puberty. It cracks and it's great.
I feel like that's perfect for
Yeah, no, that's
grad
about
school.
the level of our skill.
I mean, and she'll sound like, some sort of screeching rock star.
Well, speaking of screeching rock stars, I this weekend got to see one of our friends live, and the Deads, episode 61. They were lovely. They were
That's
great.
Awesome. I'm so jealous.
They threw in a cover of In the Flesh by Pink Floyd. But one of those covers where it takes about 30 seconds before you're like, this sounds like, I think they're playing. But it was, they were all great, but the way the drums were set up, it was so close to the edge of the stage. Watching, I believe it is Meta Dead, literally destroy that kit. The entire thing, every part of it was shaking. And it takes a lot, I feel like, to get a hi-hat to really be swaying as you're pounding on it. And she was able to do it.
That's awesome. Love that.
It was great. And then speaking of, I don't know what, this week we have Maiah Wynne.
Yes.
From I think we can say #1 group in a country, maybe not our country, top 10 in our country, from Envy of None, which is probably best known as the first music post-Rush by Alex Lifeson.
Yes.
But is so much more.
It's great.
She's really fun.
Super cool.
She's a lot of fun. Her own stuff is a lot of fun. I signed up for her newsletter so I'm like, I want to find out when she's in this neck of the woods. So that's lovely. But I've just, since Saturday night, I have been in the mood for high screeching vocals and face melting guitar solos.
Perfect.
Which, have you seen?
When are we not in the mood for
That's true. Have you seen The Darkness before?
No, I wanted to go see both of them, but it was the week did not allow me to do it.
They are such an enjoyment.
Of course. How could they not be?
Gratuitous cowbell. Early on in the show, you know what you're in for when it begins with Justin saying, give me a D, and the entire audience yells D, and he says, give me an Arcness, and they all go, Arcness. It was lovely. Yes, it is the break all of us need from reality.
Yes.
What the heck is that over your shoulder? That's like some Rick Nielsen kind of guitar back there.
Yeah, it's a harp guitar.
Wow. So it's six strings on the bottom, and then how many on the top for the harp?
6 more.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And then it's a bouzouki next to that, correct?
Yeah, a bouzouki. And then I've got a guitar. I have so many instruments over there. It's chaotic.
But let's be honest, nice problem to have.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. as we get started, I wanted to read some numbers to you that I found. Number 6 alternative album in Canada. Number 6 independent album in the UK. Number 1 alternative new artist in the US, and number 1 top new artist in the US. Other than that, how has your week been?
Really, really mellow. Other than that,
Other than that, yeah.
Well, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Get all that and get it to be mellow. It's wonderful.
What's it like now that the record's out and knowing that people are hearing it and clearly are enjoying it?
It's actually it's been really amazing and kind of strange at the same time. I feel like, it's just been this project I've been working on for 5 years now, and it was really casual at first and just this sort of fun thing to work on, and then now suddenly it's this thing that everybody's listening to, and getting so many messages and all this feedback, and almost for a while it sort of felt like a secret I didn't want to share with people because I didn't want it to go away. You get worried about sharing exciting news before it's like officially a thing for so long, and now it's like it's real. So it's really exciting.
What was that feeling like when it was finally time to sort of let the baby leave the nest?
It was a little nerve-wracking. I think there's always ways to overthink everything, and especially with music and art, you can always listen to it and think, oh, I could do something better. We could do this better. I'm sure we could take more time with this, especially after taking 5 years with something. You're like, well, maybe we should just take a little longer and work on this thing a little bit more. But it was time for it to leave the nest, and I think it was also it was nice to let it go and see what happened, and yeah, it's been a really exciting couple of weeks, and just seeing the response, and as an independent artist, I've done some song releases in the past, and that has been fun, but it's not the same as having an entire label behind you, and having all of these people working together and celebrating a project with a whole group of people. It's just really rewarding and exciting to celebrate all the time, and texting the guys like, hey, check this out, and like screenshots of different articles and pictures of different newspapers, and it's just been really fun and rewarding to see all of the amazing press and feedback that we've been getting.
Yeah, it's got to make a person feel pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you came to this project, you said 5 years ago, and it was Andy Curran who kind of said, oh, hey, was it he had a song that he brought to you, or you brought something to him? How did that collaboration get started?
Yeah, so I started talking to him after I won a Zoom mentorship with him, when I won a song contest about 5 years ago called Claim to Fame. It was an online, they had a original song contest and a cover song contest, and I entered and ended up winning the cover song contest. And I had one of my prizes was just getting to ask him questions, and I knew he was sort of an industry guy in Canada, but I didn't know much about him on a musical level at that point. I didn't know much about his career as a musician. So I mostly just asked him industry questions, and there's one specific song that I had that he really liked. That was a collaboration I did with my producer, and it was called I Got Nothing, and it was more industrial and just really different and unique. And he was like, you should be doing more stuff like that. And he started talking about a project that he was working on for his own music that had a kind of a similar vibe. And so I offered, if he ever needed a vocalist for something, and he took me up on the offer, and we started working on some music. And it was really casual at first. He sent me a bunch of, instrumental tracks that he had sort of been working on with his friend Alf, and they were usually only like a minute or two long, and just instrumental, like bed tracks and seeds of ideas. And he sent me a whole folder full of them, and I listened to a bunch of them, and Shadow was the first one that I picked and was like, oh, I can hear some ideas on this. And I started working on it and writing lyrics and vocal melodies. Um, and that was really how it started. And then it wasn't until months later that we had I think 2 songs recorded. And he called me one day and was like, hey, so I showed this to my buddy Alex and he really likes it. He wants to add guitars to stuff. And he's like, Alex Lifeson from the band Rush, right? And I was like, of course I do. But I was so confused.
No,
I
who
was
is
so
that?
confused how A went to B and like how those dots connected. But I was really excited, and I remember, I just being floored and super excited. And I remember that conversation so vividly because it was just this wow moment for me of, oh my gosh, this is crazy. How did this happen? I feel like I was just really just dumbfounded in that moment of I don't know how this happened, but I'm really excited. And we just kept working on music, and we would just send files back and forth. It was pretty much all virtual. We didn't meet in person for the first time until I think 2 years into it, and I flew to Toronto, and we did some vocals there in person just for 2 of the songs, and hung out and met in person for the first time. And it was just really great to finally meet everybody, and we've actually only been in the same room together twice. It's really funny, all of it's been pretty much virtual, and just a really great experience.
So when did it make that jump from I've got a few tracks, you've got a few tracks, Alex wants to put some stuff on this, to being like, well, I think this is a group. The 4 of us collaborating is something different. This is a project. This is a thing.
Yeah, it really grew naturally. We, around that time that I first flew to Toronto, 2 years into it, we had, I think, because we had just been doing it very casually, I think we had 4 tracks at that point, just 4 songs, and we were thinking, oh, maybe we could release this as an EP. We had a working title called In the Middle of Nowhere. We were talking about just very casually releasing it and seeing what the response would be like. And I think Andy had more of a vision for everything earlier on. I think it was really casual for us for a long time, and it wasn't until we ended up having 8 or 9 tracks finished that we had a conversation where we were like, we really should do something with this. We were really happy with how the songs were turning out and how everything was sounding, and really excited about the project. And one of the guys who drummed on a few of the tracks, and who's a good friend of both Andy and Alex, and was, I think, part of Alex's legal team for a long time, David Steinberg, came up with the name Envy of None. He had it saved for a rainy day from college. And we all really liked it. And by that point, I think the project had grown on us so much that we were like, yeah, we should really do something with this. And it just became more and more serious over the course of time. And the more songs that we had and the more songs that we were really proud of, I think it was just like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's and then if we're going to do it, we might as well, try to find a label and do it right and see what happens. And and of course, like, those guys have really great connections to different labels, and they shop
They're doing
around.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
1 or 2
So,
phone calls.
yeah, it was really nice to have those guys be able to have those connections and send it to all the right people, and get the team behind it. And that's just so nice from an independent artist perspective to, like, have a peek inside the industry window.
How do you like it so
It's
far?
nice.
You got like best of both worlds.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice. I think as an independent artist, you hear all the horror stories of labels, and you're like, oh, never sign. You're gonna sign your soul away, and you'll never have creative freedom, and they'll take all your money, and and you sort of convince yourself that it's better off to be without a label. But they really picked a good one, and I think they had enough experience with labels to know what they were looking for. And K-Scope is really like they're big enough to have those kinds of connections for PR and marketing, but they're not so big that we're just being ignored and swept under the rug. They're really putting a lot of effort behind this, and all of those people are working so hard, and it's so nice, and it's amazing to have a full team of people just like rallying behind the music and trying to work to make sure it does well. And that's been so cool, and I hope that I can find that, as an independent artist, I hope I can find a good label. I think it really is. It's just about finding the right people, and there are, I'm sure, really terrible experiences out there, but I gotta say, it's been so nice.
What is the balance of that collaboration looking like? Because obviously the other three members of the group are a little bit further along in their career.
Yeah, it's actually been really nice. I think we've all sort of found a very equal collaboration in this, and they've treated me as an equal part of this project through and through, and I've never felt like I wasn't, I guess, an equal in the project, because they've been so kind and supportive, and the dynamic has been so authentic. And Alex is such a genuine and humble guy, and he's championed me so much and supported me so much in all of these interviews and everything. And I know that he's really championed me and believed in me this entire process. And so I've never felt like my contributions weren't as important or valued, or that the dynamic was somehow skewed, and I think the age differences, the differences in experience level have really not meant much to that at all. It's just been a really great experience, and I've really felt valued and that my contributions to these songs were really valued by these guys, and that was really, really important to me, and has meant a lot to me.
Throughout any sort of artistic collaboration or conversation, I feel like sometimes, even when we're doing this show, that the person's camera goes on, and we're like, oh my God, there they are. They're just there. At what point do you put on the headphones and just go, wow, I hear Andy, and that's Alex, and like that's got to be just like a pinch yourself kind of moment?
Yeah, I think that the first time I met Alex in person was really a big moment for me, because I think up until that point we hadn't even had a Zoom call, or it was just email. It was just emails, and I don't think we'd even talked on the phone. We had written each other back and forth on email, and we were all sort of like sending files and everything. But it wasn't until 2 years into it, and I went to Toronto for the first time, and it was my first time outside of the country. It was my first time, traveling to Canada, and it was just a really cool experience, and getting to meet. I was very, very nervous. We went to dinner, and I was so nervous to meet everybody. But of course, like, especially Alex, it was a very like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I want to be cool. I want to,
Yeah.
and he was just so kind. He's a really funny guy. And he's exactly how he appears to be when you watch interviews with him, and all of the silly videos of him. He really is just a genuinely funny, kind person. So it was easy to sort of get past that moment and just enjoy it and get along with everybody. And Andy's been, from the beginning, just a really, really kind and supportive guy. And from that first mentorship call with him, it was just sort of, it was that dynamic, and he's so easy to talk to, and he's just such a business guy too. You talk to him on the phone, and he's got like 8 things he wants to tell you about updates and business updates and music updates, and he's always planning something, always planning ahead, and it's clear that he's just been working in this industry for so long. He's got that kind of brain for it, and but they've all just been so kind and easy to get along with, and I've never, other than that sort of first dinner, I've never really felt like too nervous around them at all.
Does Alex, I was just going to ask, does Alex have a favorite poutine place? So same question, really.
Right.
I'm
But
sure he does.
it's like a poutine. right? Like, what do you order? You don't want to be the person that doesn't order enough. You don't want to order the thing that's messy.
Right. Well, it was nice because he ordered everything for us. I couldn't tell you the names of anything that we ate. I have no idea what we ate. It was really fancy, like tiny portions on like those fancy white plates. It was a Thai food restaurant. I know that, but it's nothing I've ever eaten before. It's like fancy colors and sauces and shapes, and I have no idea what it was.
It was like you were sharing plates, like a tapas. It wasn't like, and my bassist will be having the salmon, and the drummer will be having the. Okay.
No, it was just tons of tiny foods.
I love it. Now the pressure's on if you guys get to eat together again.
Oh my God.
Mhm. Right?
What's your chopstick ability like?
Oh, yeah, that's
Not
true.
great.
I don't want to tell you what to do with your life, but you might want to sharpen up on that.
I really should. I can manage it, but it's clear that I'm struggling, I'm sure.
There's
See,
got
I
to be
feel
some
like if you
sympathy
can-
and
Right. But if you can master all those instruments behind you and like the finger work required for all of those,
Right, you'd think
Well,
I'd have more dexterity with the chopsticks. Really should practice more.
yeah, I mean,
I
you've
feel
got
like
a
maybe there's-
harp guitar, for God's sake.
right. Like that's
Exactly.
insane. I
Yeah, at
feel
the very
chopsticks
least, I
are
could
too
just
easy.
eat food with the harp guitar.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, does everything else, may as well serve as a kitchen utensil. That's perfect. So what's next on the agenda with the album and with everything you've been doing solo-wise?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm really focusing on finishing my own album. I have a debut record that I have to finish it by September because that's when I'm leaving for a small solo tour, and I really want to have my record out so I can support it with the tour. And it's just been a long time coming, and you know, I've written so many songs, and I've been working as a solo artist for so many years, and I've always had projects that I've been working on, whether writing songs for certain films or you know, just specific collaborations that I was asked to do, and I've really enjoyed it. Um, and obviously the Envy of None stuff has just been incredible. But I'm really excited to finally sit down and sort of create this record that I feel like really represents me as an artist, and all of the journey that I've been through and the growth that I've had as a musician, and I'm really excited to have something physical and tangible, especially after this amazing experience with Envy of None and releasing this record. Like I feel like I have such a a clear vision of what I want to do with it, and it's really exciting for me, and I can't wait. I can't wait to have it out.
Well, it seems like, having not heard any of the tracks, but it seems like you probably made a huge leap in certain aspects of your artistry from when you're collaborating with people, you know, that skilled, where it sort of just, for lack of a better term, rubs off on you. You pick up a few tricks and you're like, oh, I could structure it that way, or I could do it. That's got to be like a great to listen back to these tracks and go, how far have I come in a short span of time, in 5 years, as a performer and a writer.
Yeah, and actually through this process, you know, over the past 5 years, I've also been taking classes on music production, and a lot of the vocals that I did for these tracks and lyrics and vocal arrangements, I produced myself and I recorded myself, and that I've learned so much in the past 5 years along those lines, and went from working in, you know, what was it, Audition, to, you know, now I'm working in Pro Tools, and I've taken all these classes and I've learned so much and grown so much, and I did a lot of especially on the later tracks on the album, I did a lot of my own recording and my own producing on those tracks, and that was really fulfilling for me too, and this process of, you know, featuring on these songs and writing vocal melodies and lyrics and layers, and sort of sometimes even rearranging pieces of the instrumental tracks and creating a full song. It challenged me in a lot of ways because, you know, it's a different a different genre, and you're working with other people, and you sort of have to take what you're given and mold a puzzle piece that feels like it fits within those parameters. And I feel like I learned so much in that process. And and getting to, for those 2 songs when I was in Toronto, getting to be in the studio there and track in that way as well, was, I learned so much from that process of just being a vocalist in a studio, because that's normally not my thing. I'm used to doing all of instrumentation, and I feel really naked just being a vocalist. Like, it's very scary for me still, and a vulnerable place for me. I like to hide behind my instruments, and so it was a fun challenge for me to sort of let all of those anxieties go and go into a vocal booth and just, sing. And I really enjoyed it, and it was a really, really great learning opportunity for me about what that world is like. And and I really did. I learned so much from these guys through this process. And Alf is a really great producer, and he mixed a lot of the songs and did a lot of effects works on these songs as well. And I learned a lot from him through that process, and in my own process of learning music production, and these guys were so encouraging, and it's through that whole process to have these guys mentoring me and showing me and being able to ask them questions about the industry and about music and about music production and the mixing process, and seeing this entire process from beginning to end. It's been invaluable to me, and I've learned just so much in the process, and obviously just in the music and their musicianship, and the things that Alex would add to the songs, and how he would layer his tracks, and the different textures that he would bring in with the guitars. Getting an inside look at that was really cool and really insightful for me as a musician. He's a master at his craft, and just the amazing amount of textures and sounds he's able to create with a guitar are just mind-blowing. And it's so exciting and cool to have an inside peek at that and all of those processes. And yeah, just like it's expanded my horizons so much, both musically and educationally, and just learning in this process. I feel really lucky to have had this opportunity.
I think one of the last questions I have, so we don't take up your time, and I really appreciate your time so far. How is that September deadline looking to you? Is it looming, or is it like, I've got time, I can fix everything in here?
If I didn't have other things in from here to then, it would be like, oh, I can totally do that. I'm just going to focus on my music, and that's plenty of time. But knowing that I don't know what's going to happen with Envy of None. I don't know if they're going to be like, oh, these people want us to do a festival show, and we have to suddenly figure out a live show. You have to go to Toronto, you have to travel to these places, we're going to go do these things. I have no idea what that's going to look like. And you just never know. Like, I just got cast in a film, and I went and filmed for a month, and that took a month out of the time I was going to record on the album as well. And that's really exciting. And you can't say no to something like that. And
Sure.
it's like, it's exciting, but it's also, I know myself, and I know over the past years, I've sort of prioritized a lot of other things over the record, and I'm trying to consciously sort of make choices that are like, okay, no, this record is more important than these other things, but this one thing is definitely more important, and I should go do it. And then
Right.
these few things are more important, and it's sort of like trying to really prioritize the things that I know are like, okay, this thing can wait, and this thing really can't. And somewhere in there, I have to make time to finish the music, and I believe I can do it, and I'm so ready to do it. I just like it looms a little bit because I just of the uncertainty and the unknown of like, am I gonna have enough time in between all of these things that are happening? And I'm gonna make it happen, but it's a little daunting at this point.
Yeah. No, I mean, nice problems to have.
Right,
Certainly.
yeah, it's exciting and wonderful problems.
Yeah. I know Alex in other interviews I've seen said, like, I'm done touring. I'm not doing 30 nights, Has he softened at all on that? Do you know? Have you been able to like loosen him up to the idea of maybe 1 or 2 gigs?
Yeah, actually, early on it was definitely like, no, I don't want to do any more live touring, we're not going to do that kind of thing. And we were like, okay. And then all these people started asking, and then it was like, okay, well, maybe we could do a few shows here and there where it's not like, as long as it's not any sort of grueling touring that's taking him away from home for a long period of time. I think he's open to it, especially a few one-off shows, a few special shows, or maybe we've talked about the possibility of like, if I did a tour and then just in the bigger cities we did Envy of None shows, so they would just come for the bigger cities, and we just have a few at special events and things like that. And we've definitely talked about that, and I know that he and I both have talked about how exciting it would be to hear these songs in a live setting and really practice them and make a really fantastic show out of it, and bring in some really talented musicians to fill in all of those layers in a live performance, because it was, we had unlimited layers we could build in a digital setting. And so hearing how to translate that in a live setting and bring in more musicians, I think it could be a really amazing live show, and it would be really exciting to see those songs in a different setting like that. So yeah, I do think he's coming around to the idea, and I know that, and I don't blame him for not wanting to tour at all. Like, it was most of his life, and that's can be so grueling and hard to not be home for that long. And he's worked so hard on the road for years and years and years. So I don't blame him at all at this point in his life for just wanting to be home and enjoy time with his wife and family. And so I think definitely a few special shows are in the possibility, but probably not any like big full tours.
Yeah. For you guys, the rest of the band, just like, come on, these would sound so good in a room. Can you imagine? Think about that.
Yeah, he's really sweet about it. We poke him all the time.
For more information on Maiah and all of her various projects, check out her website, maiahwynne.com. She is also on Facebook and Twitter, where she is at Maiah Wynne. And Envy of None's self-titled debut album is available right now wherever you get your music. Their website is envyofnone.com, and they're on Facebook and Twitter, where they're at envyofnone_.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website at rockandrollgradschool.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
Maybe I'm just